Okay, this is the point at where we change into the moon, which is very, in Pisces, it's very airy fairy, it's very spiritual, it's very expansive, and at the same time, it's very letting go. But what we'd first like to say about this moon is that it's not in the space of the world's time history. Yes, you are going through a period. You see time in a completely different way. This time, whether it's a new moon or a full moon or whether it's whatever, this is a time for letting go of the past. So yes, there's a lot of letting go going on for all phases of the moon, for all parts of the moon. In the space of the world, in the thought of the world and the sun and the moon, and there is no beginning of a year and end of a year as is talked about. That is all human. That is all created by human. This is a process that's ongoing. And I know that she talks about this is the end of one, quote, astral year. That's the world, the planet does not care about that at all. This is a time for letting go of the old, making space, clearing so that the new can come in, letting go of all of the old that held back or did not serve, so that the creation can come in. Maui is doing this now. They're not happy with it. Understandably, they're not happy with it because they were pretty well tied into their expectations of what life should be. And it's not that way anymore. But that's beyond the point. This is the process. And so many have said that Maui, and specifically Lahaina, is the heart of the world. And yes, the heart is breaking open to express more love for the people. But it's not breaking open in a physical way, like on the Big Island when there's an eruption and it breaks open. This is more the things of the past that served some, but didn't serve all, is breaking open to be seen. So that what comes in now, what is allowed in now, what is agreed to by all coming up, will be the foundation for serving all in love. And that is what this new moon is all about, or this full moon is all about.
Yeah, I can feel that. Yeah, it's
Your fires are the same.
exactly.
All of the stuff that's going on, there's going to be storms coming up. There's all over the world that Italy has a heat wave that's killing all the olive trees. You know, there's things everywhere, everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. It might be weird to say this, but I feel it. Like I think that's been the up and down, and just the wanting to cocoon and yet it be really warm out, and then worried about the fires, and then I just it's an interesting inner outer gonna say pull, but process maybe is the better word.
And all of you sensitives, all of us sensitives are feeling it and will continue to. And we will band together arm in arm. And that's how we will move through it.
Yeah.
And more and more and more of us are awakening to what's going on, to this. Some choose the easier way, and some get the more difficult way.
Right.
It's a choice.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And it may be a choice not just for the individual. It is a choice for the individual, but it may be a choice for societies. It may be a choice for whole communities. It may be a choice for generations of a community. It's all the same.
Yeah. Yeah, there have been a lot of interesting choices made and things we hear of in social media, news, and whatever. But it's yeah. So with the energies and stuff right now, what do you think? And I just opened her Yasmin's little book with the cards actually for full moon in Pisces, but her other book, the diary, is differently labeled. It's like lucky for some, dreamy opportunities opening, and second chances. And it talks about Pisces being a very psychic sign, right?
I think you can feel that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, interestingly enough, and this this happens. This has happened to me a long time, but I'm actually noticing it more now. But I will think of certain things or people or masters come and gone or whatever at different times and then realize that they're actually connected to the energy that's happening right now. And I opened this little moon book for the cards. And the other day I pulled out my Kuan Yin deck. Just I needed her energy. And in here she says, use Kuan Yin. Connect with this Chinese goddess of compassion and mercy. And I hadn't read this yet. So that was almost 2 days ago that I did that.
And that starts at home, by the way, with the self.
Yeah. Yeah. All of it does. All of it does. So for people who feel like this time is overwhelming and stuff, what do you suggest?
Self-care.
Yeah.
Massive, massive self-care.
Yeah.
If you need to cocoon for a bit, cocoon. If
Yeah.
you need to walk in a forest, walk in a forest. If you're in the middle of the city and you need to walk in a forest, put on some sort of whatever that makes you feel like you are in a forest.
Right.
And do it within your own mind. You don't have to be physically tied to anywhere or anything at any point in time. You don't have to do things the way that you have been told to do them. You may visit wherever you need to virtually. For instance, our volcano has had a very short out breath and is now breathing in and getting ready for another out breath. And this time it's not exactly in the crater, but it's in the southwest rift zone of the smaller, the still younger Kilauea, as opposed to the larger Mauna Loa. If it erupts down that rift zone, it hurts nobody. There is only the park there, but it will be a new direction for it to open. And that There is no predicting for sure, but it's sure looking likely or possible.
Yeah, I saw an article about it.
And as that's happening, that's an opening also. That's working with all of this energy. And for me personally, I was thinking, I really need to get up there. I need to talk to her. I need to be able to say whatever is necessary and talk to her about all these things that have been going on in my mind that I know she's sharing. How am I going to do that? How am I going to do that? How am I going to do that? Oh, I don't even have to leave my house. And I did it sitting on my couch. And I went up there and I talked to her, and we had a very wonderful conversation.
Beautiful.
You don't necessarily need to go anywhere to do self-care.
Yeah.
You don't need to go to a gym. You can. It's just even the wonders of taking a warm bath, as wonderful as it is in physical form, you can do that without being in the bathtub.
Yeah.
And that's key right now, is self-care for the self, self-care for those around you, self-care for the entire community, self-care for the entire world. It's all about how can we all care for ourselves in all various levels of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Figuring out what you're already doing, right? Because we already do self-care. It's just the perception of, do we label it as such, and do we attach the energy that replenishes us with those tools? And then allowing ourselves to adjust those techniques, tools, habits as we need to change, because the stuff that worked for me last year might not be the same and might not replenish me the same right now. Even last month,
Last week,
last
last
week.
day.
Exactly. Exactly.
I know for myself, I have gone through in the last couple of years what would take most people at least one lifetime and probably several more. And it's just been, okay, this is working right now. Hey, that sounds great. Oh, no, something else.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Giving ourselves that awareness, and not that we need practice to adjust, because humans adjust so incredibly well if we allow it, right?
Absolutely.
But some of us do need the practice of adjusting. We need to get out of our own way, get out of our head, change that self-talk, whatever it is. And like that's what my book talks about, but also a lot of your practices and stuff is like, just step back, step to the side, and
Step out of your way.
yeah, yeah. So
And step out of the way not only of yourself, but again, all of these levels, especially when you get to the higher levels of the entire earth or even beyond that. Stepping out of the way is crucial. It's a way for peace, to have peace, to feel peace. And especially as there's all these what people would consider disasters going on, and they're having very heavy emotions around these things. Stepping out of the way is critical. Not seeing it as, why is this happening to me? Oh, this is terrible. but being able to step back and say, this is what's going on for our best, for our higher good, for our evolvement
Mhm.
energetically and otherwise.
Mhm. Yeah. It's interesting to have that conversation with yourself for the first time, though, if you haven't done it before.
Or maybe the first 1,000 times.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah. And reminding yourself that you can have that and being gentle with yourself for the process.
And all others.
Yes. My goodness. Oh, not necessarily needing something tangible, as you and I talked about earlier, knowing that the tangible is also just energy, right? And how these moon phases affect us is a practice of caring. It's a process of recognizing, being gentle for ourselves and others, and then caring for ourselves and others with the energy, whatever it might be. Maybe, like you said, you cocoon. Maybe you take a non-literal bath. Maybe you do these things that, yeah, we have to.
And that is why there are so many methods available now compared to 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. None of these things was being talked about much. And most people thought if you did talk about them, you were one of those.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
And now they're everywhere. I mean, you've got singing bowls, there's just the incredible diversity of tools that you have are there because we all need them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Part of the
And what works today may not work tomorrow, but it may work again tomorrow and the day after that. Right?
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
good at this time to have an extremely full and large tool belt.
It is. Well, and it's essential, right? It's good and it's essential. It's that grab and go bag. You've been talking to us a lot here about that. Fires can happen anywhere and anytime. Have a grab and go bag. Right?
We have heard about them for years and years.
Yeah. Earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis, hurricanes, tornadoes. Pick one. You probably live in that zone.
And if you don't, you could anyway.
Yeah.
The zones of what were before are not necessarily what is now. It's changing very rapidly.
Unbelievable. And we're firsthand seeing it, like not only in this southern part of BC, but our Northwest Territories. Like they're not supposed to be in the 30s Celsius. That's not a thing for them, temperature wise.
They're also not supposed to get whatever you want to call it, cyclones, hurricanes, etc.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh my goodness, yeah. So regardless of where any of us are, yeah, it's you can find yourself in a new space. And it's funny because those bugs on my window have found their own way into the inside of the screen. So
Don't open the window.
yeah, how and how symbolic, right? It's that line of, okay, we've got screens. Okay, we have, we live in this Arctic zone. Nope, not anymore. Like maybe, but it's changing.
And not just that. Oh, and you think you're in a safe place. Well,
Yeah. Right, from all of this, yeah, natural stuff, natural slash helped stuff, and again, the process, right? The process,
the
the
process.
things that are, and we're going to be, regardless of how fast or slow it's happening. Yeah, this moon. So it's coming Thursday-ish, right? On 30th, about? No, 2 days from now, Wednesday-ish.
It's coming very soon.
And yeah, it's it, it's got these labels of blue super full, blue super full. And Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, right? So it's like it's a completion and a newness to begin.
Which for humans, the reason we have structure, a lot of people think structure is very confining.
Right.
But the reason we have structure, like just what you just talked about, is so that when things go crazy, which they do constantly, as we've been talking about, we have some sort of a grounding point to, okay, okay, now I need to go back to this, you know. Um, in the case of the disasters, you may not know what that is, but you may have some. So we'll take, for instance, the tree in Lahaina, the very, very old, beautiful, huge tree. That is a standing point. That is a gravitational point for the people. Okay, we can move back to that. It's going to be okay. Yes, we lost everything, but we can move back to that point and we can start from there. That is why we have structure in our life. It is not to have power over anyone, or it should never be used in that way, because that is a misuse of power. Structure is there as a guiding point for when there is no structure.
As long as it's benevolent.
And so we have this structure so that we can look at, okay, this is the full moon. Okay, fine. That means in 2 weeks we're going to have a new moon. Okay, that's fine. It's the structure so that as everything goes crazy, which it continues to do, we can say, okay, there is something that is not going crazy. There is something, okay, I've got this. There's that, I've got this. It's going to be okay. And it is. And we're all here because we chose to go through this because it's such an amazing time. That didn't mean easy. That said amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, good choice of words. So, just to wrap all of this up, self-care, compassion for self and all, and gentleness. Right. What else?
Awareness, also awareness of what she called psychic. This is a time that is extremely close to the veil, and it's a very open time for all things that didn't used to be accepted to come through. Allow it to come through. Allow it to be. Listen to the voice or the voices or whatever happens to be there. Listen to intuition. It's not woo-woo. It's not taboo. It's natural. Humans have done it for gazillions of years. and it's something that should be a part of our lives and is part of our lives if we now make new agreements to accept it.
Mhm.
And so many have already accepted it, but that's crucial as we go through, we look at what's going on with the moons, or we look at what's going on anywhere. It's crucial to understand that we are not alone
Mhm.
and have never been alone.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
Mostly that we are supported.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And whatever that support needs to look like for you, whether it's structure or other people or connection to higher power, or it's all one, and it's all everything. So yeah, you just need a starting place to have that connection. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hmm.